And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a real-time card game called Hawken. Now, you might say, Vasel, we've already seen this review from you. Yes, that's correct. Last time I took a look at the Scout vs. Grenadier Hawken set. Now I'm taking a look at the Sharpshooter Bruiser set. So if you've not ever seen my review, great, I'll show you how to play the game. But I also want to talk a little bit about deck building, because now that I have both of them, I can make my own mechs as I play this game. Here we go. Okay, a quick refresher on how the game is played. Each player takes a deck of cards that represents their mechs. Two of them are included with the game for the two different mechs. You also take one of the mech pieces and put it here on a heat track that goes from 0 to 10, although 0 and 5 is the same space. A range marker is placed here to show that the mechs are within medium range of one another. There's 3 tokens here for each mech, and there's a big fire button that's placed in the middle of the table. Now the object of the game is to make the other person go through their deck 3 times. Once they go through their deck, they'll take one of these tokens to show that they've gone through their deck once. When you take your last token, you're out of the game. You're going to be using cards from your deck to attack the other person, but also whenever you take damage, cards will be discarded off the top of your deck. Each round of the game goes like this. One player says go, and then players will start turning cards over from their deck and placing them in the same kind of pile. So here's for assault rifles, here's a pile for walk, here's a special card, a blitz. You can take any cards you get and you can place it face down as cover, but other than that you keep pulling cards and putting them in the same groups as you pull them out. Now at any point during your thing you can basically grab the fire token as long as you played at least 3 cards. So let's say I play one more assault rifle, then I grab the fire token. At this point each of the mechs will compare the speeds. In this instance, each walk card here gives me speed 1, but this blitz changes them to +2s, so I have 6 speed. So whichever mech has a faster speed has 2 options. They can change the range to a different range marker, and there's a lot of cards that deal with range, so that might matter. Or you can do 2 damage to the opposing mech because you got a tactical advantage on him. Then, one mech will resolve his cards, then the other mech. You look to see how much heat you generated. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flames on my cards. So I go up here to this card here, and I generated 6 heat, so I'm going to move my mech here to 6, which automatically causes me to take 1 damage. Let's say I'd gotten 9, I would go 4 damage. The problem is, the next turn, even if my heat damage was only 5, this would only come down 1. It only moves down 1, although it can shoot all the way up. But 6 isn't too bad. I'll take 1 damage to fire off all these weapons. So here I have 3 assault rifles. Each of them does 2 damage to my opponent. This Hellfire Missiles does 7, although it says -2 if I didn't use an aim card, but I did use an aim card, so I'm fine. An aim card also negates an armor card that your opponent plays. Armor will subtract 1 from every weapon. So let's say my opponent had an armor card and I didn't have an aim card. This would do 1, 2, 3, and this would only do 4 damage. So having an armor card can really stop the damage. Or maybe you play 2 armor cards, subtracting 2 from each. So that's basically how the game is played. Once you're done resolving this, I forgot to mention cover cards. Cover cards, you can just discard one of those to take damage, so they help resolve some damage you have. Once you go through your deck 3 times, you've lost. Each round you try to play cards to make your opponent go through the deck faster, and the first person to do that is the winner of the game. Okay, let's talk about deck building. Here's all the cards from the 2 sets laid out. When you deck build, first you build a deck that's exactly 40 cards. You are allowed 1 primary weapon and 1 secondary weapon, which can be a tough choice. You know, I might say, well, these do 7 damage, but this one does 4, but it does less heat. Maybe I want the very cheap heat slug rifles that pile up when I do them, or more expensive heat cannon but provides a lot of heat. So you got to figure out what you're going to do. You decide what kind of mech you're going to have by how many armor cards you have. The number of armor cards that you have determines whether it's a light, medium, or heavy mech. Light, medium, and heavy affects cards like thruster, which give you different speeds. You can take as many walk cards as you want, as many aim cards, as many thruster cards, and you can have up to 2 of each of the special cards that are laying around. So the deck building options aren't huge, but it is an easy thing to do. Let's say you want to play somebody, you can just quick pull these cards out and say, all right, build your mech. And it's not like you'll sit around for hours building a mech. You just pick one of these, decide how many cards you want of each one. There's a limit on cards, but the limit is basically provided by the cards that exist, unless you bought multiples of the same pack, and I can't imagine that. And so there's, you can pick how you want your mech to be, and it's a lot more fun, I think, than using just the basic mechs. If I was going to buy one of these sets, I would definitely get the Scout versus Grenadier because those two are very different. This set is 2 medium mechs. This was a light versus heavy. The light, he had to kind of get in range and shoot, and the heavy one had bigger weapons. These, they feel a lot more similar. So while this was fun, I think this one was much more fun. Of course, my best recommendation is to get both, put them together, and build your own mechs. That is a lot of fun, and I really hope Cryptozoic releases more of these because I would love to see maybe 10 different weapons to pick from, 10 different secondary weapons, lots of different things to put together. This is a game that I'm really enjoying and one that I'm keeping, and I think that the speed aspect of it is just something I find enjoyable. I'm not very good at it, but it allows me to, even if you're slower than the other person, then you probably have used fewer cards, fewer heat, and it's mitigated, but it's just fun. It's simple deck building. Simple deck building, which is something I like in a game. Like I said, you're not spending hours poring over the best absolute crushing deck build, but just like, ooh, I'll try this primary and this secondary weapon combo. I'll try these extra cards and throw them in. I'll take out a few run cards and add maybe in some more thrusters, see how that works. Interesting, very fun game. One that I would recommend, Hawken, the real-time card game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.